ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम
ओम
नमो
नमो भगवते
भगवते वासुदेवाय।
यस्त्व यस्त्व इह वय स्वर्णाम सवर्णाम भार्यां द्विजोरेतः पाययति काम मोहितस्तं पाप कृतम अमुत्र रेतः कुल्यायां पातयित्वा रेतः संपाप्यन्ति।
यस्य
पापयति।
इह वै सवर्णां भार्यां द्विजोरेतः पाययति काममोहितस्तं पापकृतम् अमूत्ररेतः कुल्यायां पातयित्वा रेतः सम्पादयन्ति।
पातयित्वा रेतः सम्पायन्ति.
Yes.
May I read? No?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Translation purport by Sri Prabhupada. Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. If a foolish member of the twice born classes, Brahmin, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, forces his wife to drink the semen out of his lusty desire to keep her under control, he is put after death into the hell known as Lala Bhaksha. There he is thrown into a flowing river of semen, which he is forced to drink. Purport. The practice of forcing one's wife to drink one's own semen is a black art practiced by extremely lusty persons. Those who practice this very abominable activity say that if a wife is forced to drink her husband's semen, she remains very faithful to him. Generally, only low-class men engage in this black art. But if a man born in higher class does so, after death he is put into the hell of known as Labhaksha. There he is immersed in the river known as Sukra Nadi and forced to drink semen. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, you see, this is the discussion that is going on. Now, you see, if a foolish member of the twice born classes, Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, so please understand that some of these punishments are reserved for. So, if certain classes of men are given some punishments, one must understand, that anything that one gets from nature is a privilege. And along with that privilege, there is always some responsibility. So if that responsibility is not fulfilled, one becomes liable for punishment. Now, one may think, why are these punishments being given? Different types. We've already discussed almost 24 different types of punishments previously. Point that we're discussing here is that in this material world, anything that we get, including our mind, intelligence, and body, they are a gift of nature. They are belonging to Krishna, and they're only meant for his service. So if these gifts are abused, then a punishment is awaiting for all those who have got these gifts. So those who are in the lower statuses of life, like Shudras, Malechas, or animals, they don't get so much punishment. Their life itself is a punishment because they have no purity, they have no sanskaras. Their life is misery from the beginning to the very end. They already live a hellish condition of life, unclean, uncultured. So that kind of a life is completely undesirable. And at the end of that life, they are degraded to lower species. But on the other hand, those who are born in Aryan families, if they indulge in lower practices, then there will be like multifold punishment. So especially for Indians, Bharat Bhumit Haile Manushya Janmajar, Janma Sarthak Kari Kar Paropkar. So if Indians, if they imitate the West, imitate the Westerners and indulge in degraded habits, Indians will suffer more. That's why we see, for example, in India, nothing works. Our so-called development is nonsense. Like India is a hellish place, actually. If you see, the roads in India are hellish. Indian automobiles are third class. Indian telecom, mobile, all the technologies are third class, actually, very poor quality. The more India tries to develop, the more hellish India becomes. Because India and Indians are not meant for those things. Like if you see, for example, in India, nothing works. If you see the railways, they are third class. Indian airlines are third class. Everything in India is a poor imitation of the West because Krishna doesn't want it to be that way. So in India, whatever effort we put in, everything becomes poor quality because that's not what India is meant to be. If you've taken birth in India, you're meant to elevate your consciousness and escape this material world itself. So if Indians continue to push forward with this kind of a hellish mentality, they will suffer more punishments. Westerners, on the other hand, will suffer lesser punishments and will be degraded to animal life straight away. Because their life is anyway animalistic. Vipada Pashu, as Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say. So all these descriptions are coming. They're generally, you can see that these activities are practiced very commonly in the West. They're accepted as a part of life because that's an animal conception. But in India, if these practices are cultivated, Indians will suffer much more. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
Prabhuji, at present in the current society, who are Shudras, who are in our Indian society? Who are Shudras, who are Brahmanas, who are Kshatriyas?
No one actually. There are people who
Means,
have these characteristics, but they are all eventually Shudras. So you see, by natural order, there is a labor class, there is a mercantile class, there is an administrative and military class, and there is a academic class. So they are displaying the characteristics of Varnas, but actually they're not. So for example, today's academic class, academic and priestly class, they're supposed to be the Brahmanas, but you can see that they have degraded practices. That even in holy towns, you will find the priests are smoking cigarettes or indulging in illicit sex or meat eating. Or the military class are actually cowards. They're not really Kshatriyas. That's why they have like stealth warfare or nighttime warfare. All this is the qualities of Rakshasas and demons. They are not the qualities of Kshatriyas. Like if you see, for example, Mahabharata, even though the Kauravas and Pandavas hated each other, still they behaved in a friendly manner after the war was done over for that particular day. They would maintain a decency, a courtesy of calling on each other and talking in the evening time. But today you see the so-called militaries, America, Russia, Europe, India, China, Pakistan, they're worse than Rakshasas. They're always trying to kill each other when the other person is not alert, or they're hiding in stealth and trying to kill each other. So that is not Kshatriya. And they are certainly not fighting for Dharma. There is no Dharma, there is just some nationalistic misconception. That is an animalistic thought process. So though they resemble the characteristics of Kshatriyas, like for example, they are brave, they are willing to sacrifice their life, but at the same time, in the absence of any knowledge of Dharma, they are Shudras. Likewise, the administrative class, they are outright thieves and rogues. There is no administrative class person who is not a thief actually, stealing taxes, stealing government money. So they are thieves and rogues. Or the mercantile class, they are certainly completely thieves. Actually, all the countries of the world today are run by mercantile classes. Big corporations, this group, that group, they are all merchants. They influence the government and get things done. So the Vaishyas, but they are not Vaishyas because they are also demons, stealing from people and cheating everyone. So, and Shudras are Shudras, only labor class. And you can see that everyone today is inclined to work very hard. So that means they are all Shudras. So Kalau Shudra Sambhava. So even within a Shudra body, they have these inclinations. Like academics, priestly class, administrative military class, mercantile class. But eventually they are all Shudras because they don't follow any rules or ethics of Dharma.
what about ISKCON devotees, especially the sannyasis and preachers? Are they Brahmanas?
If they practice, if they don't, then they're not. I mean, simply because we are in ISKCON doesn't make us some kind of immune to other things. There's no, Krishna
But
doesn't
they
sign
are,
any papers.
but they are preaching. No, they are teaching. I mean, they are trying to follow the Vaishnava qualities. They are
Yeah, so
preaching the knowledge. So that way,
that is certainly good, but it's always individual.
we
We
cannot,
have,
in mass we
yeah,
cannot say.
we cannot say, oh, he's ISKCON, so he's good. Like we have preachers who ran away with their disciples. We have preachers who ran away with their disciples' wives. So that is not certainly a Vaishnava characteristic. We have Matajis who are attracted to gurus, their own Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru. So that is not a Vaishnava quality. So you see, we have to cultivate those qualities. See, understand one thing. ISKCON is like a hospital. It is meant to treat the diseased people. Certainly, one who stays very true to ISKCON and stays as it is will become purified one day. But while we are going through the process, we may still have our contaminations. So we cannot, in general, say, yes, certainly that is an exalted thing. It's better to be in ISKCON than to be in the general world outside. But still, we have to purify ourselves. That is our responsibility. So,
And that contamination happens, it is not their fault, no, Prabhuji. It is because of the Kali Yuga and lack of knowledge, or maybe they are just started the practice of this Vaishnavism. That's why
yeah,
they fall into this, right? It's
yes,
not
yes.
their fault as well.
No, but it's their fault if they are not purifying themselves afterwards.
Yeah, yes.
So they
After
have to,
getting the knowledge, if they are purifying, then that's well and good.
yeah. So if within ISKCON, if one becomes personally ambitious, that now I have to be a leader, now I can acquire more funds, now I can acquire followers, then that's a contamination. Yes, Anandram Prabhu.
That example you gave was just I was contemplating is a beautiful example. You said like ISKCON is like a hospital which are treating the patients. So if we compare it even grossly also, even the doctor is vulnerable to get a disease, but
Yes,
there is less chance because he takes all the precautions. The doctor will take all the precautions while treating. So there is a lesser chance because the practices, the safety precautions are taken. Similarly, here devotees who are slowly and steadily learning about material life and the laws of nature. So slowly, with intelligence, one knows that he has to abstain uh, direct involvement in these things as much as possible. It should be only for transaction reasons one should be involving. So that's a very nice example you give, Prabhu, which we can relate. So thank you for that example. Because
really.
yes, we can also fall down. That is always there. The threat is always there. So that is why I think Prabhupada says one should be sufficiently fearful of Maya. And when we are sufficiently afraid of Maya, then we will be always taking our sadhana very seriously, and the do's and the don'ts which they tell us in ISKCON will be following it very seriously. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji, this example is like what Prabhuji said. Even I was just contemplating that PPE, like in the hospitals, they wear, even patient has to be in proper PPE and doctor has to be proper PPE and using proper sanitation, so that infection may not get affect the patient, in fact doctor, and for that there is an infection control process. So
Yes.
relate to this, how we can not get materially infected, or how this infection will not much affect the practitioner. So that's a truly nice example, Prabhuji.
Yes. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, about all these previous verses which has been explaining about different reactions what people get when they do sinful activities. So if somebody has been doing these things and then he comes to the devotion, so then if he change his life and everything, is it then that only if he becomes a pure devotee then he doesn't need to go through these things, or how does this work then, like how you need to suffer still these things unless you become a pure devotee?
Yeah, of course. So long as you are not purified, you have to suffer. Like devotee, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanvan Mam Prapadyate. So Bahunam Janmanam, what are these different births? These are reactions of different karmas. Some of them are pious, some are impious. Sometimes we see that a devotee has some physical deformity. Sometimes we see a devotee has some mental problem or some economic problem. So yes, we should understand that this is partly his own karma, but Krishna is also giving that reaction to purify him from his contaminations, so that he does not maintain any attachments to this material world and is able to give it up voluntarily. Okay, we continue then.
Yes,
Text
Prabhuji.
27. ये तो इह वै दस्यवो अग्निदा गरदा ग्रामान सार्थान वा विलुम्पन्ति राजानो राजभटा वा तांश्चापि हि परेत्य यदम यमदूता वज्रदंष्ट्रा श्वानः सप्तशतानि विमशतिश्च तरभसं खादन्ति.
या ते
इह तिह वै
दस्यवो
दस्यवो
गरदा
गृदा
ग्रामं
गरदा ग्रामान्
सार्थान् वा
अर्थान् वा
विलुम्पन्ति
विलुम्पन्ति
राजानो राजभटा
राजानो राजभटावा
तांश्चापि
तांश्चापि
परेत्य
परित्य
यमदूता
यमदूता प्रददंष्टा स्वान्
सप्तशतानि
सप्तशतानि
विंशतिश्च सरभसं
सर्वहंस
खादन्ति.
खादन्ति.
Yes,
May I read, Guruji?
yes, please.
Hare Krishna. Translation. In this world, some persons are professional plunderers who set fire to others' houses or administer poison to them. Also, members of the royalty or government officials sometimes plunder mercantile men by forcing them to pay income tax and by other methods. After death, such demons are put into the hell known as Sarameyadana. On that planet, there are 720 dogs with teeth as strong as thunderbolts. Under the orders of the agents of Yamraj, these dogs voraciously devour such children. Purport. In the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that in this age of Kali, everyone will be extremely disturbed by three kinds of tribulations: scarcity of rain, famine, and heavy taxation by the government. Because human beings are becoming more and more sinful, there will be a scarcity of rain and naturally no food grains will be produced. On the plea of relieving the suffering caused by the ensuing famine, the government will impose heavy taxes, especially on the wealthy mercantile community. In this verse, the members of such a government are described as Dasyu, thieves. Their main activity will be to plunder the wealth of the people. Whether a highway robber or a government thief, such a man will be punished in his next life by being thrown into the hell known as Sarameyadana, where he will suffer greatly from the bites of ferocious dogs. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So you see, if you see the governments, for example, in India, actually Indian government rules the people. In India, government doesn't serve the people, it just rules the people. For everything you are made to pay. Actually, there was one calculation that in India, on an average, you pay 60% of your income as taxes, 60 to 70%. Through direct and indirect taxation, actually, out of every 100 rupees that you earn, 70 rupees just go into government's pocket, and the remaining go for your actual use. So that is how bad the situation is actually, in terms of taxation, like income taxes, and then there's indirect GST and all these taxes. So you see how, but what does the government do? Any government of this world, they just take this money, they make their own positions very secure. The government officials, they buy good vehicles for themselves, they have good houses, they live very luxurious lifestyles, and then the remaining money is just spent on buying weapons and fighting wars. Under the plea of some kind of security situation, the government spend a lot of money on themselves. They don't work for the welfare of people. So these kind of government officials, they are known as dasyus or dacoits or thieves. Now, actual role of government is to develop, to help the people advance spiritually, and in the same process also ensure that they are materially comfortable. Like if we see the example of Yudhishthir Maharaj or Lord Ram, their kingdoms were materially prosperous. At the same time, people were spiritually advanced. But today you see that everyone is struggling to save his money from the government, and they're leading miserable lives, and they have practically zero spiritual consciousness. The government itself, directly or indirectly, promotes all the four nonsense activities of illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. In fact, government earns the most money from these things. So these government officials will be put to this hellish condition. And all those who support these government officials will also have to go there. We have already seen Maharora, we have seen Rora. Now we are seeing this particular hell also. So all those who support the government will also go to such hellish condition. Therefore, it is best that we just let the world be as it is, and we practice our Krishna consciousness, and we try to get out of this world instead of trying to make some arrangements here. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments?
Prabhuji, in that case, should we vote or not?
No, I mean, Prabhupada never said yes or no. Srila Prabhupada said that I don't vote. If you want, you can do it.
But as you said that if we are supporting, then also it means we are also carrying that baggage, right?
Yes. This is the conclusion of the Shastras. Because when you vote, you are supporting someone to come to power. And whatever that man does is your responsibility.
There is so many subtle things which are involved, right, bro? Like this
Yes.
one. Yeah. So one has to be 100% sure about the character of a person or an entity whom we are going to support. Elsewise, we become a part of the sin. But
Yes.
here in the material world, whatever is abominable or whatever is spiritually, one has to be safe. They will be showing us like if you're not doing it, then you are actually doing a sort of crime only. Like for example, if you say outrightly that I don't vote, then there will be 10 people telling you, oh, this is very bad. You are not a good citizen. Like this
See,
thing will always tell. This has happened to me around 5-7 years back. I said, even if I go to vote, then I would put nota because I don't know anybody nicely, or I don't know reality. What is the reality? Because anybody can fake things in India. So it is very difficult to identify who's true and who's by the external things. It is an advertisement. Being an entrepreneur, I know how advertisements are done in my line itself. So when it comes to government officials and parties, they can just put many statistics, and internally there may be many things. This is one side, but the main thing, as you said, bro, any government or any entity who is taking this leadership position, as spoken in previous verse as 5:5:18, who is taking up leader position, he should be taking the full responsibility that his followers and the citizens should be taking up spiritual life very seriously. And when it comes to that, it is when it is spiritual life, then it's not just about that neutral type of spiritual life. It should be actually devotional life.
see, the point is, who are you devoted to? So if we see Srimad Bhagavatam, so let's see this verse. Yasyatma buddhi kunape tridhatuke swadhi kalatrādishu bhauma ijjati yat tirtha buddhi salile na karhichit janeshva abhikyeshu sa eva gokhara. So please hear this translation very carefully. One who identifies his self as the inert body composed of mucus, bile, and air, who assumes his wife and family are permanently his own, who thinks an earthen image or land of his birth is worshipable, or who sees a place of pilgrimage as merely the water there, but who never identifies himself with, feels kinship with, worships, or even visits those who are wise in spiritual truth. Such a person is no better than a cow or an ass. So now you decide. One may wear any cloth, one may talk any philosophy. If one thinks like this, one is a cow or an ass, a donkey. So this is the philosophy of donkeys, to think that this land is mine or that land is mine. That's the philosophy of a donkey. A devotee has no place of birth. A devotee appears by the will of the Lord, and his activities are only according to the will of the Lord. Still further, you see, Srila Prabhupada elaborates this verse still further. Agyata Bhagavad Dharma, Mantra Vijnana Samvida, Naraste go Kharagyeya, Api Bhupala Vandita. Men who do not know the principles of devotional service to the Supreme Lord should be known as cows and asses. Even if they are expert in technically analyzing Vedic mantras and are adored by world leaders. So you see, one may know even Bhagavad Gita properly, but if one doesn't understand or apply it in his life, then he is no better than a cow or an ass. Bhagavatam is very clear. Srila Prabhupada is very clear about this. So this so-called democracy, so-called anything, this is just cow philosophy or ass philosophy. So if anyone is convincing you to do all of this, they are most welcome. They are welcome to do it, but their opinion should have no meaning to us because they are cows and asses. If an ass is braying on the street, do we go and feed it? Do we go and worship it? No, we just ignore it. So if a man has the consciousness of an animal, it doesn't matter what is the stature of that man. He's an animal. His opinion has no value. We only follow the opinion of the acharyas and the scriptures. Everything else is just an illusion because it is born out of mental concoction. Oh, I am an Indian, I am American, I am white, I am black, I am Hindu, I am Muslim. This is skin disease. This is not devotional attitude at all. Mahaprabhu never said, oh, Haridas, you are a Muslim, let's go and do some namaz. No. Rupa and Sanatan Goswami were Gaur Saraswat Brahmins. Raghunath Das Goswami was a Vaishya. Haridas Thakur was a Muslim. Where do you find these descriptions in Chaitanya Charitamrita? They are not even mentioned there. They are just inferred that they were like this. So you see, Bhakti, see, this is Mahaprabhu's Leela. You have to understand that Mahaprabhu is teaching something by his example. So if we don't understand, if our brains are so thick, then we are no better than animals. Sorry to use such harsh language, but that's the conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, just like now this voting system is even it is happening in ISKCON also, Prabhuji. In GBC, if somebody he has to become a sannyas or any major, all decisions, everything is on vote. So, like even if the country, like any political party who is supporting religious principles or religious institution or supporting Bhagavad Dharma, giving little support rather than like greater rascal is a lesser rascal, but still he is trying to do something for religious activities. So in that manner, can it be considered, Prabhuji?
See, I'm not saying what is, I mean, who is right or who is wrong. Within GBC, yeah, Srila Prabhupada also used to take a vote sometimes when giving sannyas. For example, when Tamal Krishna Goswami was to be given sannyas, Srila Prabhupada assembled all the devotees and he asked. Then he asked Tamal Krishna Goswami's wife also. He was married at that time. So there was some sort of voting that Prabhupada also used to do. So that's another topic altogether. But when it comes to government, and when we say, oh, this government is supporting Dharma, that government is supporting Dharma, then Srila Prabhupada started his own ISKCON mission when no government was supporting him. How did he manage? So have we become so weak that we now need government support to run our institution? And besides, if you are supporting, if you think such and such government is supporting Dharma, you vote for it, then you also have to take all the sinful reaction that the government is doing. So if people are dying, if cows are getting killed, animals are getting slaughtered, that reaction will also come to you. So you take the good, you take the bad. So it's your choice. So, and anyway, if any government is not stopping cow slaughter, then what kind of a dharma is that? No government in India has ever stopped Sankirtan. I mean, all my devotional life took place, all my Sankirtan took place in the time when we supposedly had a anti-Hindu government. The best of our book distribution, the best of Nagar Sankirtan, the best of preaching, everything took place. So, you see, nothing can stop Mahaprabhu's movement. We don't need some democratic government to help Mahaprabhu's movement. But it's your choice. Like I said, I'm not saying what you should do or what you should not do. I'm only telling you what are the consequences of your actions. And then you decide. Srila Prabhupada also never said vote or don't vote. He said you decide.
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji,
Yes,
just one
Prabhuji.
comment. This year I got my election card. I got my election card thinking the same because all are same. I always felt that. But this year, for some official purpose, I got my election card
It's a
because,
good.
as you said,
It's a voter ID, so it's an official government ID. But that doesn't mean you have to use it.
yes,
It's an ID proof, Prabhuji.
Yeah, it's an ID proof. It's a good
it's a
ID.
ID proof. Yes.
Yes. So, any other questions or comments? Sorry, my throat is paining a bit too much today.
I was just thinking about this, how maybe, I don't know, in India, but at least in Europe, it used to be that churches and other this kind of religious organizations used to also tax quite heavily. And nowadays, they're paying taxes. So is them kind of to run these institutions or run the governments that they're like,
Not audible.
maybe then this way this religious kind of culture will be more in the society or no.
See, religious institutions should not take taxes. Why?
You can repeat
Religious.
what the question is.
So her question is that in the Western countries, church always takes a small portion of tax from all the citizens. So is this the right thing or not? So no, it is not right, because religious institutions are supposed to be Brahminical. Brahmanas depend upon the will of the Lord. Like Srila Prabhupada never has told anyone, you pay 1,000 rupees and I'll teach you Bhagavad Gita. No, he taught Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes people gave $1, sometimes they gave $1,000. Sometimes they gave nothing. Brahmana means depending on the mercy of the Lord, not forcing people to pay. Anyone who's taking a charge, who's charging a fixed amount of money for giving religious education is a Shudra or a Vaishya, not a Brahmana. Brahmana depends on the Lord. He gets 1 rupee, he gets 100,000 rupees. He's happy with whatever he gets. So no, government should not be taxing people for religion, and religious institutions should not depend on taxation. Hare Krishna. Yes, so we can take one question now. Sorry, my throat is paining a bit. Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji. Sunil Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
It is basically a follow-on question from yesterday's your last message about the subtle body. What you mentioned was the subtle body goes to the hellish planets, and also you said the soul, individual soul, remains in the covering of the subtle body.
Yes.
So, am I correct in understanding that the subtle body, along with the soul, goes to the hellish planet, where after due punishment is meted out, then the soul transmigrates into another body?
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Very clear.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, when with respect to an extension of this, so it is actually the soul with the subtle body experiences all these difficulties or the punishments. So, but these punishments seem to be very gross. So, how is the subtle body then affected?
See, all the pain, the pleasure you feel is in the subtle body. See, you have lost some money. Now you're feeling pain. What is feeling pain? The brain is not feeling pain. The stomach is not feeling pain, but you are feeling painful. You are feeling hurt. That's your mind which is feeling it. So in the dreams, you see sometimes there's a deep river. Sometimes you see a tall mountain. Sometimes you see a lion is chasing you. So all those things are felt in the dream. So in this body, so this subtle planets, the hellish planets are also subtle planets. So in the mind of the living entity, this pain is inflicted.
So is it also because all the situation when we read it again and again, also we see that all the situations which are being created are very seemingly grossly and ghastly put up. There is no, like you say, that there is a mental pain. So there is no mental torture they are doing. They are all doing physical torture only.
There is.
The physical body is not there at all. So is it also because that the soul is identifying still to be alive, still to be thinking that it has a physical body? Or the soul very well knows that now the physical body is not there.
And also, that is true. Soul thinks it still has a body, and it suffers that pain. See, understand one thing, physical or mental doesn't mean anything. In our dreams, we don't know whether we have a real body or not. In our dreams, we are very much real. Like in my dream, I still think, oh, I'm in my childhood home, or I'm in some village, or I'm in some town. Even though my body is lying on my bed, I still think I am very much there. So this
So it is
concept of yeah,
the reservoir of our whatever that subtle body is like a reservoir of our experiences over so many
yes,
births and birth. So those
absolutely.
experiences tell us that something is very good for us and something is very bad for us, and
Yes,
then we are subjected to these type of pains in the hellish planet.
yes. So
So it
let's take a
relates to
very
those experiences. It relates those experiences like piercing is piercing by a sharp thing is going to be painful. So when such type of graphic ghastly thing happens with us, then immediately the subtle body is experiencing piercing and it feels the pain. Although
yes.
actually nothing on the physical platform is happening.
Yeah, like I'll give you one very simple example. Now you may have say lost some business and you are feeling hurt. Or say for example you get malaria. You go to a doctor can take some blood test or take your temperature and find out you have a disease. But suppose you are in love with some girl or you are feeling sorrow for some India has lost some cricket match and you are feeling sorry. That no doctor can detect. You are feeling, but it is not visible because it's all at a subtle level. A physical disease like malaria or fever is gross. You can perceive it in the physical body, but this kind of love or hatred or sorrow cannot be perceived in a physical body. So like that, living entity is a sum total of experiences. Physical or subtle doesn't matter really there. I mean, gross or subtle. Living entity lives in his mind.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, it's mentioned in many of the verses in this chapter that the punishment meted out in the hellish planets results in death. So basically, does that mean that the subtle body or the soul is thinking that it is dying?
Yes.
Because there's no physical body, so it's basically in the mind.
Yes. Like for example, in our dreams sometimes, sometimes I am shot by someone or sometimes I am falling from a building.
Yeah.
I think I am dying, but actually nothing happens. I just wake up.
Yeah.
So it's like that. So he gets a sensation of death, but nothing really happens.
But Prabhuji, in the text 28, it is written, although the sinful man is repeatedly thrown from the mountain, his body broken to tiny pieces.
Hmm.
So here they are talking about the body, right?
Yeah, subtle body. It also breaks.
Subtle
It's
body,
like
but how?
so he gets that sensation. He gets a sensation that his body is broken. He's feeling that pain, but he's taken back again and thrown many times.
Okay.
So he has a
So he's
sensation
just
that the body
feeling
is broken.
that.
He's just feeling
Oh.
that.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. So, Prabhuji,
Yes.
that means that although the soul and the subtle body no longer have the gross body, still that attachment is still there.
Yes, attachment is very much there.
Or for the body which they have lost.
Yes. So if you remember the chapter on the for material world as a forest of enjoyment. There also you see when the living entity is dragged out of his body, at that time he feels separation from his husband, from wife and children and his property and everything, and he's dragged by Yamadutas through the hellish grounds where his body is burning and dogs are tearing him. So at that time also his body is very much in his house, but he is dragged away. He is feeling that pain and separation.
But that is like immediate. So, okay, that we understand. But this is like even after such a long time.
Yeah. Till the very end, it's till the very end till you cross material nature into Brahman. This body is going to remain there. So it's a very long road ahead of us. Very, very long road. When we say, I am not this body, what we are saying is, I am not this physical body, I am not the subtle body.
Means still the soul gets another gross body. It will remain attached to the previous one because
yes.
Let's say the subtle body has memories of all the bodies. But the attachment will be only to the recent one.
More recent ones.
Okay.
Sanskaras are coming from very many bodies actually. So in the womb of the mother, the living entity is remembering all his births. So he's suffering there.
That is why Mata Smrita Jnana Apohanam cha. Krishna is very merciful to give Apohanam.
Yeah, that's why he gives us the facility to forget. Otherwise, we would be miserable.
Not only miseries of the past birth also, and so many miseries that we are inflicted in the hellish planet also, we'll have to recollect everything.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
So
Correct.
for our sins, we are getting 2 time punishment. One is going to the hellish planet, and plus next life as the karma. We are getting the next type of body.
Oh, this is that good
See,
question.
understand
Prabhu.
there is punishment until such time as you forget your sanskaras. If you have a desire to enjoy illicit sex life, you will be punished as long as you are not able to give up that sanskar. If you are able to give up that sanskar, that punishment stops there and then it won't continue. So as if you are able to forget all materialistic misconceptions, this body itself will terminate. Karma is finished. But the problem is we hang on to the karma, so we need to be punished so many times to give it up.
Yes, Prabhuji. As you said, in the 1.1, 1.221, the chapter, it is written that the knot in the heart is cleared and all the mixed feelings are cut to pieces. Means all the karmas are finished, right?
Yes. Actually, karma also doesn't exist. If immediately if you give up your attachment to something, the associated karma is also finished.
So why, Prabhuji, that new karma is not created? Means what? I mean, they are living in this, liberated soul. They are living on this earth and still, and how come they are not producing any reaction?
Who?
The liberated souls, I mean, the one who has got realization of the God, still being on the earth, and how come they don't produce any reaction?
Jivera Swarup hoy Krishnera Tatastha Shakti Ved. Liberated soul means he is a servant of Krishna. If he is working for Krishna only, as Krishna's desire, how can his work have any reaction? Then his work is only auspicious work. His work is only meant to liberate other captivated souls.
Not even good reaction.
No reaction at all. Akarma. His work is transcendental.
So the only thing he does is work for Krishna, right?
Yes. His desires are only Krishna's
So,
desires. His work is only for Krishna.
Prabhuji, where can we find such souls in Vrindavan somewhere? How can we meet them?
You are reading one such soul right now, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, I will live
But
in my
he is
books
not,
forever.
but
He is
in
very much there.
reality, if we want to meet someone, like they say, in one of the Bhagavatam, it was written, we should try to, when we go to Vrindavan, all these holy places, we should try to meet the such devotees. So how can we meet them?
Well, take your Bhagavad Gita, go to Krishna Balaram and start reading, associating with Srila Prabhupada. See, try to understand this kind of sentimental nonsense which has come. You have to meet a living sadhu and talk. That is all nonsense. You read books, you try to understand what Prabhupada is saying. Srila Prabhupada says 16 rounds faithfully. Try to serve. No, instruction is, but we are not following it. And we are trying to find some sadhu who will tell us some magical words by which we will be liberated. No,
No,
you'll get the
Prabhuji
same thing.
himself he says,
Hmm.
Srila Prabhupada himself says in one of the purport, Prabhuji, even a minute, I mean, even second of contact with a pure devotee, like Vidura, how he changed just by conversation with Dhritarashtra, how he immediately he left his home, right? So similarly, just contact with a pure devotee, our life can be changed. That's what Srila Prabhupada ji writes in one of the purport, Prabhuji.
Yes, so you go and find some sadhu, and when you find him, you tell me also. I'll also like to go and associate. But till such time, you read
Sadhu
Prabhupada's
must be
books.
waiting.
It is like that blunt saying which comes on, "Ghar ki murgi dal barabar." It's like that we are happening with us. So
Yeah, we are neglecting Prabhupada and trying to find sadhus here and there. We're climbing this hill or that hill and this Babaji, this Ammaji. Well, Prabhupada is very much there. He's our spiritual master. Why are we ignoring him? I know of devotees who have physically told me that, Prabhupada's books don't have rasa. We are connecting with so and he's giving us a rasa shastra. So this is nonsense. You'll only get some lusty rasa. Nonsense we will get. You want rasa, you have to first purify yourself completely.
yeah, actually, Prabhupada being humble is not directly telling us that you just take association from me, but we have to understand that a pure devotee is there in his books. He has always told so many times that he is always living with us with his books and his instructions. So if we live the books, if we live his instructions, then we are already getting the association. We need not spend so much of energy and endeavor to search who is the right person for us in the dham. A
Yeah,
pure
so you
devotee,
just
and we know that pure devotee, wherever he is, he creates the dham around himself. So he has that aura in his books and instructions. And we are still fortunate to have these books, to have his tapes, to have his transcripts. So much of resources there. So the touch of pure devotee is just a moment's place away. Only thing is we are not ready to detach ourselves.
right there, it's right there. This sadhu is right there in front of us. We just have to take his association. So you find any devotee who's studying Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam very seriously, sit with him and start discussing Bhagavatam. So that is your sadhu, and that is your sadhu association. Okay, so we stop here today. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila
Thank you
Prabhupada
so
ki
much.
jai.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Dandavot pranam.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Jai.
So,
Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.